something old, built the first global network. It was not wires, screens, or apps. It was mail, and it changed everything. Before the internet, mail was the real global network. It moved information across continents, fast enough to reshape history. Once it worked, the modern world moved differently. It did not run on software. It ran on roots, standards, trust, and discipline. That is what makes it feel so modern. Stay with me for this. The postal system was never just about letters. It was infrastructure, power, and control. For most of history, communication was brutally local. If you wanted to send a message far away, you sent a person. That meant the message moved at human speed, foot, horse, or ship. If the messenger failed, the message failed too. It could be lost, delayed, or stolen. Distance did not just separate places, it separated time. A ruler could wait months for a reply. A merchant could wait weeks for one answer. Families could go years without news. Whole lives changed between messages. This made large-scale coordination painfully hard. Empires were wide, but communication was slow. So the real problem was simple. How do you move information without moving the sender? That is the problem mail solved, but here is the twist. Mail is not just delivery, it is a network. Networks need nodes, routes, schedules, and rules. One messenger can carry a letter, but not a civilization. A real postal system begins when the parts connect. Then information moves like a machine. First, you need routes, planned corridors, known stops, and expected travel times. Predictable routes create predictable delivery, and predictability creates scale. Then came relay stations. This was a major breakthrough. Instead of one rider going the full distance, riders handed bags off, node to node. That handoff made the system faster and stronger. It kept speed high and spread risk. If one rider failed, the network could still continue. The route still existed. That logic should sound familiar today. It is basic routing. A letter could hop from node to node. Data does the same thing now. Now add trust. Without trust, nobody uses the network. People needed confidence that letters would arrive. They needed confidence that handling followed rules. So postal systems built safeguards, sealed bags, guarded routes, and penalties for tampering. The product was not paper. It was trust at a distance. If trust is weak, usage drops. If trust is strong, the network grows. Then came standardization. This is where mail becomes truly powerful. If addresses are inconsistent, sorting collapses. If pricing is random, adoption slows. If schedules are unclear, reliability collapses, so postal systems created shared rules. They standardized addresses, postmarks, zones, and rates. Those details made the machine work. Then came a tiny object with huge impact. The stamp looked small. But it changed the payment flow. It removed friction from the system. Before stamps, receivers often paid. That caused refusals, disputes, and delays. A prepaid stamp flipped the logic. Now the sender paid up front. That made delivery smoother and more predictable. One small standard improved the whole network. Most people notice the mailbox and the carrier, but the hidden engine is sorting. Sorting is where chaos becomes order. Cities receive mountains of letters every day. Sorting turns that pile into routes, stacks, and schedules. Without rules, volume crushes the system. With sorting rules, volume becomes manageable. That is why postal systems loved paperwork. Paperwork gave the system memory. Records tracked senders, destinations, timing, and handling. Once records exist, a system can survive staff changes. Procedure outlives people. Memory moved out of heads and into the institution. That is a huge systems upgrade. Then the story turned political. States realized communication is power. If you can move orders fast, you govern better. If reports return quickly, you react faster. That is why many postal systems were state-built or tightly controlled. Mail was administrative power. Governments used mail to issue laws, manage taxes, and coordinate distant officials. A state without communication is fragile. A state with communication can expand. But governments were not the only winners. Merchants loved mail too. trade runs on information. Prices, contracts, shipments, and credit depend on updates. Mail reduced uncertainty in trade. It made long-distance commerce feel less like gambling. Reliable communication made bigger markets possible. Faster information changed business behavior. Then transportation improved, and mail accelerated again. Railways were a huge upgrade. Trains increased speed and regularity. They pushed postal systems toward precision. Timetables and hubs became stricter. Reliability improved, and the network became more valuable. Steamships did the same thing across oceans. They turned uncertain voyages into scheduled routes. Predictability mattered even more than raw speed. It made global contracts practical. Finance could coordinate across continents. Trade could plan with confidence. So mail did not just speed up messages, it changed what societies could coordinate. Now here is the uncomfortable part. Mail was also a system of surveillance and control. States censored mail in many eras. They intercepted messages and monitored routes. Even private mail generated useful data. Addresses, routes, and volume reveal social connections. The network mapped society as it moved messages. Post offices became local hubs. Once a state can deliver everywhere, it can also reach everywhere. Notices, taxes, court papers, regulations. So mail looks simple on the surface. Underneath, it is state capacity. It is logistics, administration, and reach. Now step back and look at the deeper logic. Mail solved a network problem at scale. How do you move information reliably for millions? The answer was infrastructure plus standards. That same logic appears again in later technologies. You can see it in telegraphs, telephones, and the internet. The internet did not invent routing. It digitized routing. It accelerated nodes, standards, and addressing. Postal systems were already doing that in physical form. The core logic was already there. A postal address is a destination format. A stamp is prepaid delivery. A sorting center is a routing hub. Routes and schedules act like physical protocols. Modern networks still struggle with the same problems: delays, bottlenecks, trust, and scale. And like digital networks, postal networks become invisible when they work. That is strong infrastructure. That is why mail was revolutionary. It turned communication from an event into an expectation. Before networks, distant messaging was a gamble. After networks, it became routine. Routine communication changes civilization. Families, business, and government all scale differently. Mail also trained people to think in systems. Schedules, standards, and procedures became normal. That mindset is deeply modern. Mail helped build it long before the digital age. That world was not disconnected. It was already networked, just physically. It was slower, yes, but it still had nodes, routing, pricing, security, and scale. So next time you see a mailbox or a postmark, pause for a second. You are not looking at old-fashioned delivery. You are looking at network infrastructure. You are looking at one of the original global information systems. It helped build the modern world. It connected strangers, institutions, and markets across distance, and it changed how civilization coordinates.